name's Jason Swope. I'm with the Washington County Master Gardeners, and today we're going to prune this knockout rose bush. So like I said, we're going to start just by, let's just reduce it in size. If this is 4 feet tall now and we want it to be this size next year, then we'll bring it down in size here early in the spring and then let it grow back out again. So we'll start by just removing, you can kind of be a little bit indiscriminate in your initial pruning cuts, just to kind of reduce it in size, and kind of making sure that, you know, these are good loppers, but when you start to get into thicker branches, you know, this might start to gnaw or tear it. That's when you might want to use, you know, your hand pruners if it's a thicker type of a branch. But I'm going to just start by just going around the plant and just getting it. Let's just kind of start to get it back in size a little bit. And you can see we've taken off maybe 30% of the plant. It's a good start. Now, whenever you prune a shrub or a tree, what we're doing physiologically, if you look at this shrub and, you know, a knockout rose, it's got lots of these growth points. If you look closely down the stems, you can see buds on further down the branch. So physiologically, what happens when you prune a shrub and you're removing this terminal or apical buds, which is where the plant is sending most of its energy and sugars. When you remove that, then the plant says, uh-oh, I've lost my terminal point of growth. I better do something to compensate for that. And so the plant will then divert its energy to these other buds and branches, buds that are lower on the branch and further down within the plant. Even if you look closely down in here, you can see, even on this main cane, there's lots of growth points. So if we prune something up here, it's going to encourage more growth down below. So once I've gotten that down, you know, we've taken it down probably 40%, 30%. Once I've gotten it down to about the size where I think I want it to be in height, then I'm going to look at the plant, and for these rose bushes, I'm going to look and try to figure out, you know, maybe I'll remove a quarter or a third of some of the oldest canes within the plant, just to be encouraging, like I said, encourage the new growth to come on from down at the base of the plant or from lower points within the plant. So when I look at this, I can see, you know, right off the bat, you know, I'm looking to thin this out and by maybe a third or a quarter, so that we can let more air and light into the plant. So I'm looking for some of the older or thicker canes, thinking about how I might want to do this. And I think what we want to do is we also want to prune so that we encourage growth, not necessarily to be toward the interior of the plant, but to grow more outward and encourage better structure on the plant. Not as important with a knockout rose. So let's see here. We'll just remove a couple of these older canes and thin it out a little bit. So I think ultimately this is probably about the height that we're going to go to in here. So as I'm doing this, I'll make some pruning cuts a little higher and some a little lower. I don't want to just have flat straight across. I want to vary those pruning cuts within the plant itself, so that we get a nice regrowth that's uniform and not everything at the very top. Where you prune here, then what's going to happen is these buds down below then are going to become more dominant on the branch. So, you know, you want to try to prune to allow these branches to grow out in the right direction. But this shrub rose, it's not quite as important to do that as it might be with some other shrubs. These plants are going to grow regardless of how we prune them. So we're pruning more just to kind of maintain the size and height of the plant. So I'm just going to remove a couple of. See how we're kind of opening it up, allowing more light and air in there. If there's branches that are growing out in the direction that you don't want them to grow too much because you've got other plants or other things, elements in the garden, you know, maybe on this side will be a little harder in how far we prune it back just to give us some space here. This one that's growing toward the statue. So you can see now already how much more open and airy it is. And I think what Will was saying is you want to leave, what, maybe 5, in the case of a knockout rose, 3 to 5 main canes and some of their auxiliary branches. So at this point now, I'm just trying to thin it out a little bit. You're looking for branches that are rubbing and touching, or generally don't, if there's not a lot of space between them, always kind of look down into the plant and see where if I have branches that are growing in the same direction or rubbing and touching, I might try to remove some of those just to keep it thinned out. I don't know, I think that's looking pretty good now. How's that look, Will?
Looks like $1 million bucks.
We've balanced a little bit more here.
So you said
Some of that.
last year. Okay. Okay, yeah.
I think that looks pretty good.